Hello, my name is Michael Stoller, host of the Stoller Report and host of the AmTrust webinar series. Today, I have a very interesting topic which has been profiled in the New York Times recently and many other publications, the event and catering business. The event business has been devastated. And how are people adapting to this, and what is the government trying to do for this? So today we have, due to a little technical abilities due to the storm, we only have 4 people online, 3 people online and myself, and 1 person on the telephone. I have Paul Newman, who's the Chief Inspirational Officer at Newman's Kitchen, B. Alan Kurz, who is the Managing Director at the Gotham Hall and the Ziegfeld. Arthur Bacall is the CEO of Bacall Hospitality. And on the line coming back, we have Simon Auerbach, who's the president of Ram Caterers. Alan, you've taken the biggest lead in this thing. Talk about some of the businesses, the programs that you've set up to try to help the industry get back into its place.
Thank you, Michael, and thanks for having us here today, talking about a very necessary topic. Really, when we first started out, Arthur, who's on the panel today, and a few other people in the industry, we started what we call the best task force. It's Banquet Event Strategic Task Force. And what that was really putting together a program of how to do things properly, the protocols to get back into business safely. And then, May, we were working feverishly on it. I mean, just every day, hours upon hours upon hours, doing how to set up the proper protocols. And then all of a sudden, it changed. One of our members, we were up to approximately, we had everybody on the call in the industry. Rainbow Room, Pierre, main locations, obviously Gotham Hall, Ziegfeld Ballroom, etc. And Dewan Stroud, who's a designer, realized, and he really sort of took the ball and ran with it and said, you know something? We're not opening up so fast. Look what's going on. It started getting worse, not better. We were all planning being open by now. We thought, all right, at the outset, September 1st. And then we sort of changed the direction we were going in and started looping in with the New York, New Jersey Live Events Coalition. And we started really talking about how are we going to survive as an industry. We're empty. I don't want to speak badly about restaurants, but they can do delivery. They can do curbside pickup. They don't have to be open as a restaurant for indoor dining in order to have some revenue coming in. We realized we had 0 revenue coming in. And that was sort of the catalyst of where we started going off and really talking to government officials all the way up the ladder. I mean, state U.S. senators, governors. I mean, we've gone all the way up. We've gotten some traction within the White House itself. They've heard us. Whether they're listening to us, that's a different discussion.
But here's the question. We've had the PPP. Has the PPP helped out because you haven't been able to bring back all of the employees? Under the initial program of the PPP was the 75-25. 75% had to be used for payroll, 25% was for occupancy and operating expenses. Correct. Then the PPP was changed to a 60-40. Now we're hoping to have another new PPP, and there's the Main Street lending. So has this assisted you to survive a little bit during this period of time? Because, as you said, there's no events that you've been running. Arthur?
Yeah, Arthur, please.
I can take that one because I sit on a lot of sides. I mean, the event business is such a main focus of what we do, but I'm involved in restaurants and other things. But the PPP, the way it was set up, was for a business that would be back in business, hopefully in a few months, to bridge that time, because we have businesses that you can't even bring the people back. So that's one thing, that it was just a little bit of a stopgap. But then the bigger issue is with a lot of our venue business or our event business, you don't have a tremendous amount of steady employees. You have maybe a lot of other operating costs and overhead and things like that, but you don't have a tremendous amount of full-time staff. That is what the PPP number, the value, was based on. It was based on a total of your payroll times 2.5. Now, if you don't have an ongoing full-time payroll, you have an issue because you're not getting a lot of money from the PPP. So a lot of us, way more costs on the other side. And it's, you know, now we're in, like your title of the whole program today is devastating. We're in a devastating situation because now it's not just to get us through the next few months, it's get us into next year and maybe beyond. And that's what's very troubling, because the more we hear, the more we see, both in the data of the science and also from what the customers are telling us, there's not a confident and a comfortable feeling until there's a true vaccine or until people feel comfortable being in large gatherings. And right now, it looks like well into next year and beyond for us to get back into business. So it's
Arthur, you've been, I mean, you're at the Mandarin, you're at other places. What have you done with regard to deposits and so on? Arthur's muted.
you're controlling. There you go. Can you hear me
Okay.
now? Yeah,
Yes.
like Alan said, this is a perfect formula for not doing virtual, but even though everyone's pushing for that. No, listen, the deposits it's a really good question. It's a tough one. I mean, I know my fellow panelists and everybody operate their business professionally and always want to do the right things. But, you know, a lot of these deposits that were received, and now without the, you know, knowing where we were going with events for so long, now it's much more of a cancellation rather than a postponement. At the beginning of this pandemic, in the first few months, people were trying to hang on and postponing for a while. But now, especially the last few months, it's fast and furious. People are canceling their events. They want the deposits back. I'm personally doing everything I can to get them whatever money I can back at the appropriate time. And I think the true best operators are doing their best. But at the same time, it's hard to manage all this because you're trying to deal with contracts. You're also dealing with contracts right now going forward where clients are not feeling comfortable putting maybe as much down or even contracts booking. So you're balancing everything. What future business might be coming in or not coming in to what business you have to now take care of to still keep the relationships going. And this is a relationship business, and you want to just take care of your clients.
You know, when people hear about the events, they don't look at all the type of events. I mean, Facebook has events. I mean, and as we were talking earlier in the week, the effect of the nonprofit industry is enormous over here. That's besides the operating businesses, nonprofit businesses were 70% of the catering business and so on. I mean, what effect have you seen, Paul, with regard to the nonprofit business?
Well, the nonprofit business, Michael, thank you for having us. There's what's called the virtual gala now, which is the most painful thing you've ever heard of, where we're supposed to, they're going to take their top donors and we will deliver dinner for 8 or 10 people to their homes, to 40 homes, 30 homes, provide chefs and waiters. Then the second tier down, we will deliver food. The third tier down, you know, we'll deliver basically a beautiful dinner, but no staff. And the third one is just hors d'oeuvres. So the not-for-profit world is trying to pivot, but the pivots are Band-Aids. They're work that we never would have taken on prior. Now we're happy to take it on because we want to build these relationships. But there is no gathering of 50, 100, 500 people. There is nothing on the horizon that's going to enable that not-for-profit to go to Gotham Hall, Ziegfeld Ballroom, Mandarin, anywhere. So we're all just making it up as we go along. And we're literally doing things we never would have done and happily doing them because it's all we have to do now.
You know, in the food processing business, I have both Simon and Paul. Simon, are you back with us? Can we hear Simon again? But Paul, here's
I'm going to jump on something, Michael. I'm going to jump on something, if you don't mind, what Paul said and what we're talking about here, which is really important because events, and I've seen now there's so many articles coming out, and with Alan and our team, we're trying to work on the government, you know, hopefully the funding and all that, but it's also the messaging. People, this is not just a party business. This is a business that impacts so many people's lives, so many employees, because it's not just the venues and the caterers, it's the florists, it's the entertainment companies, it's the rental companies, there's so many workers that It's like the butterfly effect of so many people that we're impacting. But then when you look
Production companies, the movie theaters, the party planners, all of the other,
everybody,
I mean,
party plans, everybody. But then you're talking about what Paul just referred to. This virtual is a short-term thing, but you're not going to be able to raise the same money. People want to still go to events and network and be seen, especially people who are joining firms and corporations who are giving the money. So eventually it's going to be harder for these really, critical charities, causes, breast cancer, mental illness, all these things that we all cater and we also do events for. This is going to be a real problem. You're not going to raise the same money. So the effects are tremendous. So we need to get back in business for all those reasons, not just for our business, but to impact so many of these other causes. And it's really a critical time right now.
so when I hate to say we're in as I said with the topic, it's devastating. Looking at the situation, devastating. How are you trying to adapt for your own businesses during this period of time? I know, Paul, I know you had started Newman's at Home, okay? Then there are other things, okay? Even maybe Arthur, you could cater some of the events, or you can try to do something with a restaurant. What type of alternatives are being taking place at this time to handle some business? Because Paul, Alan, Arthur, Simon, and everyone over here has rent to pay, have mortgage payments, have notes to banks. I mean, have payroll. Okay, how are you adapting? Paul, what have you been doing?
Well, at the beginning of this, we were feeding hospital workers, people. There were foundations donating money to feed hospital workers. We did that for a while. We launched At Home with Newman's Kitchen, which was very successful with too small a group of people. There was too much. We jumped into that space too late, and our audience was out in the Hamptons. So there's no one living in New York to buy dinners or buy what we were selling. Right now, we know that the corporate catering is going to be all individual meals. So what we've done is we've spent a lot of time on R&D developing this new iteration of corporate catering, and we're bringing people back to start selling it, but there's really no one to sell it to at this point, and no one is committing. Even our long-term clients can't tell us how many people will be in the office after Labor Day. They have no idea if it's 10%, 5%, 20%. One of the things that I'm visualizing is I work at Rock Center in a 60-story building. I work on the 30th floor. They allow 4 people in an elevator at once to go up. Now I want to go downstairs for lunch, and every time an elevator passes me, it has 4 people in it, and I can't get downstairs. So what does that mean for us as caterers? I'm not sure. Will a company on the 30th floor say, let's just buy lunch for everybody? Let's fire the company that used to provide the cafeteria because we don't need a cafeteria anymore. We're not even allowed to do it. So every time we thought we knew a strategy to solve the problem, it turns out we didn't really know. We tried it and it didn't work. Quick example, construction workers. We thought, let's feed construction workers. The companies will love to buy a meal. We'll sell 300 meals to a job site, and the safety factor of having the meals delivered, not going into the local pizza place, will offset the expense. We weren't able to get it off the ground. So we've tried to come up with ideas, and we keep shooting blank. So if I tell you what my solution is for September, trust me, it won't be the solution for September.
Okay, maybe we have Simon back. We see him on the phone, or
I'm hoping so.
Arthur.
Good.
Oh, okay, great.
From the White House.
Simon, as I was saying to you before, how are you, and you specialize in kosher catering, how are you adapting during these days?
Yeah, you mentioned before about the time span. So the average kosher wedding is booking between 4 to 6 months out. That's about the average. And unlike, I guess, in the non-kosher world, most kosher weddings will take place. There's no belief in putting these weddings off for 12 months or longer. And what happened initially was weddings that were scheduled for after Passover, May, June, August, everybody thought, I included, that you put your wedding off between March, April, May, that June is going to come around and your wedding will happen in June. June then went into August, and we found out that some people got married in their backyard, some people got married in the rabbi's office, and unfortunately some weddings actually broke off due to the difficulty that they had internally on dealing with the current crisis. So it's been a very, very difficult needle to thread on all levels. And what I find most difficult is customers, clients, brides and grooms come to us thinking that we know something that we don't know. And as Paul mentioned before, the laws and the navigating through this change so often that when I meet with someone and I feel I've given them a complete guideline of what we can do on Monday at 12 o'clock, I open up my email and at 12:30 something came out from the CDC telling me that what I just told them is contrary to what can actually happen. So it's changing rapidly, and it's very, very, very difficult. And I'm speaking primarily, for kosher events, because the idea of, again, canceling or putting it off for a long period of time is not really in their in their game plan.
With regard to kosher events and also other events that all of you have been trying to do, there's been a lot of, as we see right now, we're on WebEx and you have Zoom. I know that the production companies have gone into a way that for the 50 or 100 people who may be in the backyard or at the rabbi study or something like that, but there's a lot of video. Are you tying in the same ways you used to tie in with the party planners, with these movie production studios to enhance your business?
So the answer really, it's not really something with the movie production studios on that level. I guess close friends want to zoom in. Again, how long is someone going to zoom in for a wedding? Are they going to zoom in for 20 minutes, an hour, or 4 hours? So the answer is everyone's trying to be creative and get something done. Oddly enough, I think some of the people today are happier with weddings of 50 people because it's very difficult when you're doing a wedding for 150 as to who you are and aren't inviting. So in a weird way, clients are almost happier to do a party for 50 than for 150 and 200. And again, a lot of the weddings that are used to doing tend to be 400, 500 people plus. That's a standard kosher wedding in today's times. But the Zoom, everyone really looks at it from a different perspective. And the reality is there's a lot of these small weddings going on at the same time, the same given evening. So Zoom started out really big in I guess, the first couple of weeks, but I think it kind of has tamed it down somewhat as of recent.
So here's a question for Paul and probably Simon also, with regard to the ghost kitchen idea. I mean, you have the facility right now. Paul, you have a beautiful kitchen in Long Island City. You're 1/90th of your normal production. Are you going out to other small caterers or small restaurateurs or people who want to operate and asking them to use your ghost kitchen as like an alternative?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we have a company in here producing meals while their kitchen is being finished. This is a meal delivery company, and they're in here. By the time they're done, it'll be 10 or 15 days, and we're charging per day for them to use the kitchen. They use it 6 or 8 hours. They produce a lot of food. We've just gone on a website called usekitch.com, usekitch.com. They want to be the Airbnb of kitchens, commercial kitchens. Very clever idea. So we've just loaded our images onto their website in the hopes that people who need kitchens find us. We are really a perfect kitchen for film production or for high-end visual. We can produce a lot of food, but our hook, really, our differentiator is high ceilings, air conditioning, skylights. We're a beautiful place to work. So we are hoping to parlay the kitchen into revenues, whether it's ghost kitchens, producing food, shooting videos. We look at our assets. What are our assets? We're food people, we're service people. Oh, and we have this kitchen. Certainly we're trying to produce revenue from the kitchen.
Arthur, you have Alexandria. Talk to me what you're doing over there with regard to the food services and the catering business.
I couldn't hear the first part. What did you say, Michael?
Alexandria.
Yeah. No. Listen, we're catering to the tenants right now. So we're operating the food services here, and that will grow as the big question is right now. I mean, so we're doing some things. I mean, the event business is still not happening yet. I mean, we're trying to do a little bit of this hybrid just to get us through this bridge, but hopefully getting back and building into the real in-person event business. But Right now, a big thing that's a question for all buildings and all of New York City in particular, because the laws are very stricter in the city than they are even in the surrounding counties and all that, is to hopefully get more people back to work. More people back to work will give more people in the buildings more opportunities for catering, more delivery services, more opportunities if you have to do some other things. It's not going to replace the big event in-person business, but at least it'll be more, at least for my friends Paul and Simon, they'll have more catering opportunities, hopefully corporate-wise. But you got to get people back to the city. The city right now, it's a whole nother issue. There's not a lot of people. I'm here every day now. I'm not on like a work from home schedule. I'm not a work from home guy anymore. I'm trying to be on premise in the city as much as possible, but the city is a different place than it was 6 months ago.
So right now, you're all talking about aid, okay? As we said, there was the PPP money and there's the Main Street Lending Program. State, there are only 9 banks who are involved with the program, and you also have to be subordinate. Your debt has to be subordinate. What are you looking for from the federal government? What are you looking for from the state government with regard to a grant program or to certain options to help you out during the period of time until we have a vaccine, until business might return to some level of normalcy? Alan?
Yeah, so really what we're looking for is not really from the state level at this point, it's really the federal level at this point. And it's a forgivable loan based on loss of business. There's the Restart Act, which is they're hopefully pulling out into Congress and using the Restart Act as the foundation for the bill. And really all it says is that you get a loan, and your loan will be forgivable if you can prove that you have lost revenue of X percentage. Part of that X percentage now is being discussed by the National Restaurant Association, because originally it was you had to show a loss of 45% or more of your revenue, and they're saying that would exclude over 50% of the restaurants, because restaurants have done curbside pickup, they have done some delivery, so they do have some revenue coming in. They're trying to lower that percentage to 30 or 35%, where you can show a third of loss of revenue and then a portion of your loan is forgiven. But that's really the main thing right now. I don't think the states have the money, to be perfectly blunt, whether it's New York or right across the country, to be able to subsidize businesses. What the state has to do is make the streets of New York, and I don't want to get political on this, safe again. You walk in New York City right now, it's different. It just feels different. I know there are less people, but it feels a little bit like the late 70s to me a little bit.
You know, Michael, if I can answer that question, because we just looked at the Main Street Lending Program and we're not eligible, and it's a very, very difficult loan. The proof is that since they started it a month ago, I think they've only loaned $82 million nationally. So that tells you something's broken about that loan. I think if you say, what do we need? We need enough money, whatever that means for each of our businesses, to get through to, let's say, June of next year. In March, when this happened, we thought by now we would be in a position we're not in. So whatever the PPP was, and I think it was misnamed because it shouldn't have been the payroll protection plan, it should have been the enterprise protection plan. Because if you took the money and hired everybody back with nothing to do, I'm sorry, you're a fool. If you took the money with the idea that the most important thing you could do is preserve your business so the jobs would be there in the future, that's what it should be. So what do we need now? Frankly, we need some peace of mind, which none of us have. And that peace of mind is called time. And that time is really the money we need to get the time until we believe that we can book Gotham, Ziegfeld, Mandarin, and with confidence. And that's an enormous amount of money for each of us. I know it.
And I'm going to jump in on, yeah. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, Alan, finish, and then I'll make my comment.
No, all I was going to say is that, to carry on to Paul's point, consumer confidence is not that high right now. And that we need maybe not Gotham Hall specifically, maybe not Newman's Catering specifically, maybe not Mandarin specifically, but the industry as a whole needs to have the assurance that they're going to be able to continue their business. And the way they're going to be able to continue the business, so the business is there for the employees to come back to when it's safe to come back to work. And that's key, is that you need a loan system, a forgivable loan system based on loss of revenue. And Paul's absolutely correct. It was misnamed because if you did bring back all your employees, they came back to do nothing. And
They have no jobs.
and
Right.
that, right. So now what you need to do is protect the companies so the company is there. So when it is safe to come back to work, there's a company to come back to. Otherwise, unemployment will be rampant forever. I mean, the numbers are staggering now. There'll be no jobs for people to come back to. The event business employs 12 million people. That's more than the auto industry worldwide. Think about that. That's staggering
No,
number.
but Alan, you know, when we're talking about the event business, we're talking about the florists. We're talking about
Yes.
the people who are renting the tents. We're talking about all these auxiliaries. How do we pass it through to all these small other businesses? Okay, you're easy to identify. You're in the catering business. You have a hall, you have a facility. But how do you take into consideration the loss of revenue by all of these auxiliary industries which go to the full gamut? How do you look after them? That's the big question.
It is a big question.
Restaurant.
Yeah, it's a big question, and they do need to be looked after. There are decor people, there are event planners that are doing zero business right now. But on the flip side of it, some of the tent companies are really busy.
Okay, you know, Simon was talking about the weddings. Every 4 months, every one of these events that Simon had, or the events that Arthur had musical people. Okay, there are musicians right now who have no business. They have no other source of revenue. What are they going to do? You know, they had major events over there, a 14-piece band. Where that's going on? The summer, you know, a lot of the events going to different communities. We were joking before about Deal. Every weekend in Deal, they have 2 or 3 charitable events. They're not having the events. Look at the events in the Hamptons. They're not taking place. Okay? The rooms aren't being rented. Other things aren't being rented. So we just have to do something to kickstart, as someone would say, to kickstart the business and figure out alternatives. And I think all of you have been working on alternatives. And instead of really, you know, I'd like your final comments because instead of just being repetitive in what we're talking about, I'd like any thoughts of how you think we can move ahead and help the industry. Let's start with Simon.
I think basically we've covered, you know, what we think we can do collectively, and I really believe that Alan put it correctly, that it's a question of our revenue and loss of revenue, and the federal government really giving us help putting something together. There's no question there are a lot of groups involved indirectly into what we do. That's definitely true. I just think we need a better, stronger voice within our government to really let them know what kind of pressure that we're under, and somehow getting our word out there to the masses. I'm hoping we can get some resolve.
Arthur.
Listen, there's so many industries that are hurting right now, and we're talking about ours, and we know we're in line. We're trying to, you know, position ourselves to get closer to the front of the line. That's why all this efforts that Alan and I and our group's been doing. I think we're getting the word out. We're seeing a lot more. We do hope it's not too late. Because like you said, Michael, the cause and effect is so many other businesses, the musicians and the decor people and all the different companies and the people and the individuals. Remember, we didn't even bring it up today, and it's a hard thing for owners of businesses, but the pandemic insurance, you know, we know maybe in New York or for some states, it was maybe it didn't motivate people to maybe come back as quickly, but you know what? Not having it at all too is going to cause a big effect. So we have to have fine balances, but we really do have to have our business looked after, because we do employ, like Alan and everybody said, a lot of people. Those numbers are out there now, and they're definitely, you know, verified. And we just really tie into so many different people, and we just got to be around. We got to get through. We've all been doing this a long time, and it would be a shame for something way beyond our control to put us in a place that we really are all in now, and that we even could be in worse in the next 6 months.
Paul.
So on this panel, we probably have 150 to 160 years of experience in this industry, right? We've all put our lives literally into this industry. What do we need? We need a vaccine, and we need money to get to the vaccine. And that's all we need, right? We are not asking, we're asking to keep the businesses we've poured our lives and hearts into alive. We don't know, no one here wants a handout, but we've been presented with an insurmountable challenge. And if we go down as a businesses, this country will be unrecognizable, not because we're so important, but because other businesses like ours will have gone down before us and will go down after us.
Alan.
We need Congress to act. You know, they have until this weekend, and then they take an adjournment till after Labor Day, and which is insane to me. I think they've been on vacation long enough, but we need Congress to act, and that's really what I would close it out with. They need to make a decision. They need to get together. It needs to be bipartisan, and Paul said it perfectly. We need that bridge. If it's not safe to come back because there's not a vaccine yet, then there won't be the consumer confidence to walk back in. We need the bridge to have that consumer, till the consumer confidence is back, and the Congress needs to act to assist all of us because we employ so many people, not just our individual businesses, but everybody, as Arthur had said before, that butterfly effect.
Let's hope that over the next couple of months, things get a little better. The vaccine comes there, business turns around. The government allows you to have larger event space to do more things. And I'd like to thank everyone for being here. My name is Michael Stoller, host of the Stoller Report and host of the AmTrust webinar series. Thanks again for being here. Have a good day.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you, everyone.